What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to this Anfield Agenda special take video where today I'm going to be telling you why I think that stats are ruining football fandom and that we should be very careful or stop using them to make our points. I'll explain more over the next few minutes. It probably sounds a little bit irrational to you at the start, but I hope by the end of this video I have you convinced. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please do drop a like on this video if you enjoy it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You will be watching this while I am away on a family break, and it is the October international break. I'm recording this now at the end of September, so if the subscriber count in the corner looks a little bit off to you, it is, but I wanted to get these videos recorded and ready for you, so, well, we don't miss each other while I'm away. Also, on that, I want to just remind you to join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp community. It's heading towards 15,000 members. Scan that QR code there and that will bring you right across. It's where we post the link to submit your player ratings for all those videos, and we put in a few polls and interesting bits and pieces that we hope will keep you as informed as we can. So, right, I have a real bee in my bonnet with fans, me included, using stats to fit a narrative that probably isn't the truth. For me, stats have a place in football. Of course they do. But with people who know how to use them, statisticians, and I ain't one of those. I'm not somebody who uses stats much. But what you'll often find is stats are used when there is an agenda, and they prove what people want them to prove. And look, there is the age-old thing where you can get stats to prove whatever point you want to make. This is why I'm so adamant that they shouldn't really be used where possible in football fandom. Now, some stats are straightforward. Goals, assists, tackles, yellow cards, corners, stuff like that is straightforward. We can all use that. But when you're talking about some of the new stuff, when you're talking about trying to just justify a player's existence out there, a player that's clearly stinking the gaff up, but you're so unwilling to admit it that you go and find a couple of stats that will show that they were in the top 3 or 4% in this particular metric. I don't think fans should be using them that much. There is a place for them, like I said. I know a few statisticians who are way more intelligent than I am, and I try to stay away from using them as much as I can because I really don't know how to implement them properly. But what I do know is there's a lot of times where I'm watching a game as a fan and I use the eye test. Now look, we've all come to football at different points in our lives. Some people will be watching this and they will have been around football 30, 40, 50 years. Others maybe just found and fell in love with the sport in recent years. So I guess I'm kind of pitching this perhaps to some of the newer people to the game. Many of us, like any other sport, know what we're looking at. We can see with our eyes what's unfolding in front of us. And of course, there's always going to be intricacies from managers and pundits that we may not see. But you know if somebody's having a stinker. You know if somebody's out there and they're not doing their shift. But then you go onto social media and you get people trying to say, you have an agenda against this player and here's a set of stats to prove it. And the stats are more often than not absolute nonsense. Like, let's just throw a few random ones out there. Progressive passes. I don't care. I want the ball to go in the back of the net. You know, I don't care if a player has 19 progressive passes if he missed 4 open nets. There are so many stats that just wind me up. And yeah, I'm a bit of a boomer in this regard. And like I say, I judge players on my performances. Now, has there been times where I've looked at a player's performance, wasn't being sure, looked at the stats and the stats show me very clearly, well, Craig, you've underrated this player, or Craig, you've overrated the player. Yes. That's happened, but not enough. And for me, it's one of the things that turns me off watching some fan content. And I am a huge advocate for fan content. It is my living. But I try to not sound more intelligent than I am, which isn't hard because we all know I'm an idiot. But stats to me need to be left to the professionals. You know, your Sky Sports, your TNT Sports, people like that have people full-time understanding these. I'm sure you probably have your own set of statistics that bug you. And there are some that have come into the football world that I do now have grown to have liked. Like expected goals, stuff like that. But pre-assists and stuff like this, nah, I'm not having it. A pass before the pass that leads to the goal? I don't need to know about that. I don't need to be told that X or Y had a good game because they had 2 pre-assists. Come on. You know I'm right with this. You will know many accounts that you watch that know how to use stats and do it really well. I've got my own that I follow on social media, or used to follow on social media, but asked for clips from Connor from or information on. But I don't use them. because, I'm not qualified. So like I've said, there is a place for stats in football, but I think in football fandom, the eye test, the smell test, whatever you want to say, is probably the better way to go about this. So when I look at a game of football and then I do my player ratings, am I always right? Absolutely not. But it's my opinion, and I try to back it up with my own points from what I've seen. Not a lazy set of numbers that somebody else has formulated that again could be used to show whatever you wanted to show. Mohamed Salah could go out there one week and score a hat-trick. I promise you I could find statistics to undermine that, to say that he didn't actually have a great game. Yes, he may have scored a hat-trick, Craig, but he didn't do X, Y, and Z. At that point, I don't care because he scored a hat-trick. So some of this is me having a gripe about stats being used in the wrong way. Some of it is me having a gripe about stats that just have no place in the game. But either way, I will keep saying, leave it to the professionals. Maybe some people out there use stats because they want to challenge themselves. And I do that as well occasionally. But I do it behind closed doors. I don't bring it onto a stream to try to make myself sound more or less intelligent. Again, it would be difficult for the less intelligent part, but you get where I'm going with this. So it's one of my biggest gripes in football. So I want to know from you guys in the comments how you feel about football fandom and stats. Because there are so many times where someone will be trying to convince you that your club should go and buy this player because the stats show X, Y, and Z. But they don't tell you that it's in a poor league. Let's use Viktor Gyökeres as an example right now. So Arsenal fans were saying he scored X amount, 45 or something like that in the Portuguese league. And that he's, in the top metric for X, Y, or Z. Yeah, but the Portuguese league is nowhere near as good as the Premier League. And that needs to come into the conversation as well. So stats can be there as part of a well-rounded conversation. But to try and say that Viktor Gyökeres, as an example, is anywhere near the level of Haaland or Isak is nonsense. And again, this isn't meant to be me running down Gyökeres. I'm just talking about how you can show me a set of numbers, but I can see the player on the pitch and think, that was in the Portuguese league. Darwin went over to the Portuguese league and tore it up, but he couldn't make that move to the Prem. So like I've said, for the very last time I promise, stats do have a place in football, but I don't really think that they should be used too much from us fans that aren't intelligent enough to use them a lot of the time or aren't qualified enough to use them. It's something that really just annoys me because it's used to push narratives more than it is to inform. And that's probably where I should have gone with this from the start. It is a narrative thing that I'm annoyed about, not a form thing. Somebody wants to undermine or big up a player, so they go and find stats for it. That's where I'm at with it. But of course, I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section if you've enjoyed this video, which is, I know, a bit of an angry man rambling at times, a bit of a boomer having a go, but it is an honest thing. Something that I feel frustrated about and something that I hope changes. But let me know what you're thinking. I appreciate your time as always. If you've enjoyed the video, you know what to do. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.